Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today we have a brand that I've never covered on this channel before, or I should say I've never done a review of one of their fragrances. This is Floral Street. The fragrance is called Arizona Bloom. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on the scent, so make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin today's fragrance review on Arizona Bloom by Floral Street, and I tell you all about this fragrance, the notes, the performance, the smell, comparisons, and there actually is a fragrance I would like to compare this one to, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time I do upload future videos to the channel, and give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. So this fragrance has a lot of really unique summer-based ingredients, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to wait so long to review it. I actually picked this fragrance up way last year. It's been many months ago, and I spent a little bit of time wearing it. My wife actually really loves this one because it's a coconut-based fragrance, and it contains a lot of really unique ingredients in it. Fig leaf, cashmere. It has ambergris if I'm remembering correctly, but it's also salty at the same time. So like a salty coconut, perfect for this time of the year. The perfumer is actually Jerome Epinette, and Jerome Epinette has done fragrances for Byredo and Atelier Cologne. Very accomplished perfumer. I've had the pleasure of meeting him in person several times, but here we have a summer-based fragrance that actually smells like a really expensive fragrance that is kind of hard to find. I think it might have become a little bit more mainstream as of the time that I'm shooting this video, but this fragrance I know is on the inexpensive side of things. I know it's carried at some Sephora locations, so you might actually be able to find it at your local mall. They also have a really convenient travel spray as well. In any case, I'm excited to give my thoughts on this fragrance, but let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So in the opening of this fragrance, you get something that smells mildly sweet, but also synthetic as well. And let me explain. There's definitely cashmere. There's a lot of musks in this fragrance too. And it's a combination of these sweet, musky, and creamy ingredients that I've smelled before, and it doesn't smell overly natural. There is this coconut presence about it, and I know there's a coconut presence not just because I'm reading it in the note breakdown, but my wife smelled it, fell in love with it immediately. Her favorite note is actually coconut. So as soon as she tried it, she fell in love with it. So it has coconut. There's a salty texture about it. Not as salty as like a Coney Island by Bond No. 9 or a Café Del Mar by Ramon Monegal, but it definitely has this salty presence to it that I think just adds uniqueness to the fragrance. And I think it complements the coconut pretty well, although I personally wouldn't put salt on my coconut from a gustatory vantage point, but I digress. This fragrance kind of smells, actually, let me backtrack. It smells a lot like Another 13 by Labo. Another 13, I know it used to be an exclusive fragrance for some time. The exclusivity may have been lifted. I'm not entirely sure. It is a collaboration that the brand did with Another magazine many years ago. And that fragrance has actually been cloned several times. So I know Dua Fragrances has done a clone of it. I know Zara also did a fragrance which is called Ambrox. I do own that fragrance. I purchased it and I think I did a review on it as well. So this fragrance actually does smell a lot like Another 13. I don't know if it's a combination of ingredients that made it smell like that, or if it utilizes a single ingredient that is used in abundance in Another 13. But Another 13, as you may or may not know, contains only 13 ingredients, and that's kind of something that Le Labo does. So with this fragrance, I also pick up on a simplicity factor just because of the level of similarity that I would get to Another 13. So it has this salty, creamy, slightly sweet vibe. This one is perhaps a tad more complex than another 13, I think, just because I feel like my attention is being grabbed from a few different directions, where I'm not just smelling like this synthetic musky backbone, right? I'm actually getting the coconut, I'm getting the salt, I'm getting the clean synthetic musks, I'm getting something creamy and sweet lingering in the base. So that's kind of what you're going to get from this fragrance. Very casual, perfect for the summertime. If you want something that is long lasting, because that smell you're going to get in the opening, that creamy, smooth, musky vibe, that's comprised entirely of base notes. So this is kind of the smell that you can expect from this fragrance to last a very long time, which also brings me to another point, that point being that this is a very linear fragrance. The way it's going to smell in the opening is not going to be vastly different from the smell that you're going to get in the dry down. So if you're on the market for something that is slightly fruity, a little salty, creamy coconut with some synthetic musks, bears a very strong similarity to another 13 by Le Labo, but at a fraction of the price, I think you're really gonna like Arizona Bloom by Floral, Floral Street, excuse me. This is the first time I'm covering the brand on my channel, so I do get confused sometimes with the name, but I do think it's a solid fragrance if that's what you're in the market for. For me personally, even when it comes to Le Labo fragrances, I personally really love, Patchouli 24, Bergamot 22. I kind of like my freshness to be a little bit more on the citrusy side of things, and so I'm not a huge fan of coconut. I like it. I like Virgin Island Water by Creed. It's not one of my favorite ingredients, but again, there's a fragrance for every sensibility. There's a scent for every person. So if my description of the fragrance sounds like something you'd be interested in, try to get a sample. I think you'll really like it. But I do think that it's a really nice fragrance from a brand that is not as widely spoken about as something like a Creed or a Parfum de Marly or something like that. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, it does bear a pretty strong resemblance to another 13. I do find this one to be a little bit more complex, but equally linear, if that makes sense. But the overall smell is very pleasant. Like I said, my wife really loves this one. Longevity on this fragrance is about 7 hours. Projection is really good for the first hour. In terms of the versatility, I do think it's casual leaning. I think this is perfectly unisex. Anybody of any age can enjoy this one. And in terms of the presentation, I actually think the presentation is pretty cool. I like the floral graphic. I like something that really pops on the shelf, or something where all of the bottles have a similar aesthetic. So it looks nice when you have them all lined up. My final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are a fan of bright, summery, fresh, salty fragrances that would work really well when the weather gets really hot, and if you're familiar with the DNA of another 13 by Le Labo and you want something that smells similar to it, I would definitely recommend that you check out this fragrance. I think it's a really good, inexpensive alternative to another 13, all the while being a little bit more complex but equally linear. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. That's it. Although I'm sure I went beyond the 10-minute mark, as I usually do. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit that bell so you can be notified every time I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up so you can tell the YouTube algorithm that you like this type of content and my videos will get more views. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you for taking your time to watch my video today. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.